Folks, it is July 31st, 2018. Another episode waking up on the right side here for us. I'll be your host, Donnie Rightside, today with the right side of campus, the last day of the month of July. It's August. You know what August means out there, folks. We are one step closer to National Football League action and collegiate football action. So excited, can't wait. But a lot of topics, as usual, to go over in this mid-summer show today. So welcome into the channels there. As I said, I'll be your host today, Donnie Rightside. The big man on campus will join us momentarily once he gets his computer figured out over there, but we'll have some fun. Of course, as you know, the show's topics, typically morning headlines. We'll recap a little bit of baseball, tap into some Major League Baseball games tonight. We are going to go over, once again, an NFL squad to review. Take a look at team totals on that team, as well as it's actually coming out of the NFC North. So we'll enjoy that there. Today's team, folks, the Chicago Bears. So we'll see how Mitch Trubisky and the boys are going to be looking this year. Some good wide receiver help. Finally, some skill positions out there and a new head coach, new regime. We'll see if it makes a difference for the Bears this year. We'll go over that just a little bit later in the show. Welcome in there in the chat box. I'm not in there yet, but if you could please feel free to retweet the show, hit the like, hit the dislike down there. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet to our channels here at sportsbookreview.com, you see it right on that YouTube channel that you're watching right now. Hit the subscribe button every single time a show goes live here on the network. You will get alerted to join in and come in and say hello in the chat box. Give us a follow on Twitter at SBR Sports Picks. And also that you see today, it's almost heading into the new month of August, but never too late to start on something new here for us, the promoted Sportsbook of the Week with the right side of campus and sportsbookreview.com is Bovada. Check out the sleek new interface on their fast payouts. And if you are a dog player, as you'd like to know, those lines usually are skewed to your direction. Fast payouts also there. Bovado.lv. Check them out today. The new sponsored sportsbook of the right side of campus. Just getting these links tweeted out. So welcome in. I'll be running the show solo for a couple minutes, as I said, until the big man does join us. We'll go into some topics and some headlines. Just getting the retweets out there. Let me see if I can actually even jump into the chat box and say hello, maybe give a couple shout outs here to the good folks out there. Tomorrow, some interesting news for me on the roundtable. I usually make an appearance every Wednesday. A lot of fun on the show doing it with Drew Martin, Ian Cameron, and the big man on campus. But tomorrow, I will be checking out those world-class, world champion Philadelphia Eagles up close and personal at the Nova Care Complex in Philadelphia. So I will be sending in an absentee ballot tomorrow for the show. But, of course, NFL is close there. We got to do a little bit of digging in there. Got to see what the hometown boys are up to for the practice field. So, as I said, that should be some interesting and good stuff here. Trade deadline day. LeBron opens new school. Baker Mayfield's RV. Roquan Smith unsigned still. Those will be the topics of the morning that we will get into and have certainly a lot of fun going over. Carlos out there. Jack Hargraves, what's up? Looking over last night, we're all gamblers here, right? So heading into last night, looks like two games that I scoped out all day long. Liked them a lot. Easy winner with the Oakland Athletics last night. We'll review that game as it goes over. What was it, 10-0 by the eighth inning? Sent on a winner on that. But thought I had a nice winner in my back pocket last night with a dog play. The Colorado Rockies up 4-0 after a two-out grand slam in the fifth inning by Nolan Arenado. Martinez, that we've been talking every single time he starts to try to avoid him and fade him because his shoulder, pectoral, upper body, whatever is not right with him. They knock him out of the game in the fifth inning with the injury, take the 4-0 lead, and all of a sudden a pitcher that looks like he's about to throw a complete game, 3-hit, 1-run ball game, immediately loses his accuracy and walks 3 straight batters in the seventh inning. Ties it up 4-4, and you know how that plays out the rest of the game. Team that loses all that momentum, they got no shot. Extra inning walk-off home run last night by Ozuna did me in on the Rockies game. But hey, if you're going to lose a game, you might as well lose the dog. If you're going to win a game, you might as well win the favorite out there. What's up, Troy V, Brad, Dewey, Kyle, Mikey? Welcome into the show. We'll stall for a little bit of time here until the big man can get in here, and then we'll start our day as usual there on the hot topics of the day. So any questions you have there on the chat box, we can certainly go over them and have a little fun. And see, now I'm finally in the chat box to take a look. Look at that nice little Bovada sign under the SBR logo right there. So moving up in the world, changing it up, shaking it up a little bit. As you know, last time we were promoting Intertops. Now again, for the next month at least, or at least foreseeable future, we will be the promoted sportsbook on Sportsbook Review here. The right side of campus will be Bovada. Mikey did, Paxton, Cy Young form last night. Look, that was a really good baseball game, which you kind of had to feel with. And, I guess, is Altuve, I used to bitch and moan about Jeff, where Altuve ranks up there. I don't have him number 1 overall, but I did have him in the top 5. I was arguing that Machado would be a better overall player. He's having a fantastic year, but, results, seem to stick for themselves. When that guy's not in the lineup, Houston is all of a sudden an insignificant offensive force. Yes, they were facing Paxton, who's a really good pitcher, albeit coming off the DL stint there. and the quick start last time he was out in Los Angeles, and not a real hitter-friendly ballpark up there in Seattle with Safeco Field, but he was fantastic last night. Cole was good as well. But I'm not really hitting the panic button on Houston yet. I'm going to get Correa, Altuve back. I mean, they're still going to be roll around. They did make a really nice trade, which we'll get into in just a few moments here in the overall trade deadline moves with getting Osuna. As I tweeted out yesterday, bad guy, yes. But I think he can help you on the diamond. But how does it shake up the dynamics of the clubhouse? That's a very outspoken clubhouse, especially last year with domestic violence and what you should and shouldn't do and getting suspended. If you're looking at those Houston Astros down there, it's going to be interesting how they can meld Osuna into that locker room when they were so judgmental and against, going up against some things with domestic violence, as they should be. But you always worry about how that locker room fit is going to be. Armin, what's good out there? Let's see who else here. Ralph, welcome in as well. Where does Harper land? Yeah, why don't we get into some trade day deadline action as we see fit today? Look, Bryce Harper out there? Hold on. Who is going to trade for Bryce Harper here at the trade deadline? And why in the world would that make any sense whatsoever? What are you going to give up for Bryce Harper at the trade deadline? So let's just say, all right, Washington Nationals say, you know what? If you make us a good deal, Bryce Harper is available here at the deadline. Okay. We heard about the Cubs would be interested in Bryce Harper. You giving up Chris Bryant? Probably not. All right. Let's just see. You want to make some headway, and let's just throw it over to the AL East. You're having a little bit of problems with your starting pitcher for the Yankees, and you have some injury situations there that you want to try to deal with, get those bats hot, and you want to make a move for Bryce Harper. You giving up Giancarlo Stanton and Gleyber Torres? I don't think so. Look, how about Boston? Hey, let's circumvent the Yankees and get Bryce Harper here and really make a run at this thing. Okay, you giving up Mookie Betts? I don't understand. What are you expected back, or what are you expected to trade? If you're the Philadelphia Phillies, hey, Bryce Harper's going to be a great landing spot. Hey, you might be able to sign him in the offseason. Let's go ahead and make this move now and make the push to the playoffs. If you're the Phillies, are you giving up Aaron Nola? Are you giving up Rhys Hoskins for Bryce Harper? What's the package out there? I mean, I can't even understand or fathom why he's on the market, but what you would actually get back, knowing who his agent is, and he's automatically going to hit the open market in the offseason. Regardless, he's not going to sign a long-term deal once you trade for him right away. But what do you get back? Hey, Angels, we really want to make a push. Why don't we have Bryce Harper on it? Okay, you giving up Mike Trout for Harper? I don't understand. Or, hey, Arizona's going to make a move. You're going to give up Paul Goldschmidt for Bryce Harper for a rental? I just don't see it happening out there. I mean, he seems like he's destined to stay in Washington. Washington has a lot of money, rich owner, as most people do. But I just don't understand now. If you're Washington, you're a real smart businessman, and you can get away a dominant prospect back or get Chris Bryant back from the Cubs and then re-sign Bryce Harper in the offseason. I mean, I could see something like that, but you can't always count on doing that there. Or you send him out to the Dodgers. Who are you getting back from the Dodgers in that respect? Are they going to send you Bellinger and Seager back for Harper? He's not going anywhere, and I can't imagine if he would for just some niddling couple prospects here, because he is going to break the bank and be one of those $350 million players, no doubt about that. So we'll see what takes place with Bryce Harper. I know it looks like we're having a little bit of problems here on YouTube with the channel, so stick with us here. We'll sort of fight through it there through the megapixels that you're seeing, a little bit of slow motion out there. It is what it is when you try to fight through Skype and through YouTube there. But welcome in. As I said, again, we'll get this going once Big Man on Campus can join us up here. But in the trade deadline deals, who's going to make each other better? Who's going to get after it there at the deadline deals? I did like the move that the Astros got, not so much for the locker room, but you can't bolster your bullpen enough. Seems like they were really down on Ken Giles, who's fighting with the manager, fighting with management. He had to get out of there, get out of town. So Osuna coming back was a nice move for them. I did like the Keller pickup for the Pittsburgh Pirates, try to bolster the bullpen. A lot of teams, you can't get that true starting pitcher, 1A pitcher. So the best way to fortify your team is go after some bullpen help. I love what the Brewers do. I mean, look at the Brewers lineup now with Moustakas in there. Every single night, it seems like, as long as the whole team is healthy, you can mix and match any player that you want in any situation and come up with aces there, 1 through 7 or 1 through 8. And the Brewers' back end of the bullpen is going to hold up fine. Can they get the starting pitching? Can their starting pitching hold down throughout a playoff run? But their bats should be able to come to play, and also, more importantly, that bullpen should be able to shut a few teams down out there. Terry Miles, welcome in there. Brad, welcome in as well. And let's see what takes place here and go over a few things. LeBron opens up a new school there down in Akron. How about that? I mean, look, say what you want about LeBron James. He does put his money where his mouth is and is all about, at-risk youth in his environment in his hometown of Akron, sending people to college, getting people an education. I mean, LeBron James didn't even go to college as is. And when you see him always hold himself up in I don't even know what the word would be, but just his presence when you see him speak, it comes from the heart there. He's out there not about saying, hey, look at me. I'm a really nice guy. Let me spend some money out here. It looks like it's pretty genuine on what he does, doing a lot of good stuff in that Akron area, that Northeast Ohio area. Because we know, hey, look, came back, got Cleveland a title. That was his only job there. He's feel free to go out and move around the states and go to LA and try to rebuild that franchise out there and try to get some titles. But it is nice for LeBron to give back to the community. And, a billionaire probably going to be multi-times over when he's all said and done. That's always the argument with Jordan. Jordan always said Republicans buy sneakers as well. Jordan more of a businessman. You can't fault Jordan because, hey, not everybody's going to take up social concepts and social, issues that prop up from time to time. And you can't fault a guy for just saying, no, I'm going to stay in my lane and, do my own business over here and become a billionaire. But LeBron James going about it the right way, taking care of his own there in the state of Ohio. And more good stuff. Hopefully, that filters down to some other athletes that can do the same things where you see a need in the community, whether it be education, just uplifting, or just giving the kids on the streets, that is, as opposed to being on the streets, give them a safe haven environment where they can go in and play sports, work on your education, work on yourself, so to speak, also, and get some things done right. So good for LeBron James out there to credit that. Now, we all like to knock him, and he's not clutch, and some people hate him. I mean, the people that love Michael Jordan never going to like LeBron James. I mean, that's just a straight-up fact. But, you can't discredit doing what he's doing off the court at this point, putting his money where his mouth is out there. The Baker Mayfield RV, folks, if you see that down on the tagline on morning headlines, just something interesting there where, most teams don't go away to camp anymore. I think it's only like maybe 11 or 12 teams now in the NFL go away to camp, similar to what would be out on the West Coast where the Cowboys go out to California. Eagles used to go to Lehigh University, but now stay in the city. Kansas City, the Packers, they still have training camp at home there. But take a look at the RV, a place of sanctuary and safe haven for those Cleveland Browns out there. Baker Mayfield, maybe Tyrod Taylor gets together, maybe the quarterback coaches get together, but sort of an off limits. Even, folks, as we all know, we like hard knocks. You want to get into the nitty gritty of what guys and what players are actually doing out there and settling into. But the RV is an interesting thing for a safe haven that not even the cameras of hard knocks can get into. Baker Mayfield and the quarterbacks can go and have a nice respite in the middle of camp, trying to get up there. Hey, maybe that RV is going to be the difference, folks, between them getting 1 and 2 wins on the season. There should be a lot of fun there out in Cleveland, but also talking about some Cleveland quarterback issues that you might have and what you'd be looking for down the line. You saw a prop up in the news yesterday. The simple fact that Tyrod Taylor is helping Baker Mayfield as opposed to maybe what Joe Flacco did in Baltimore when Tyrod Taylor came in. Yeah, I'm all about helping, and it's a nice environment, but these guys are professionals trying to earn their craft and hone their craft and take starting positions away from others. But I don't really know how much Baker Mayfield is actually going to gain on-field performance out of Tyrod Taylor and his 14 touchdown passes last year. Tyrod Taylor, the consummate professional, seems like a really good guy. Maybe he can keep his head on straight. Here's what your diet should be. Here's where you should be going after. Here's the film work you should be putting in. But, 14 touchdowns over 15 games started last year for Tyrod Taylor. Not the greatest passing attack that we're going to have here. So, Big Man on Campus, looks like we have him ready today. No, we got him.
How are you, Donnie?
Oh, there he is. Welcome into the show, Big Ben on Campus.
How are you, Donnie?
Doing very good.
Where are we at, Donnie? Let me pick it up here. Where are we at in the show right now?
We're at the Baker Mayfield RV in Cleveland, Ohio, Jeff. We're parked right there in the parking lot in Brea.
What do we have yet to talk about? I think you've talked about that enough.
Roquan Smith, unsigned still, and the Chicago Bears' hapless ownership is next on the
we talked about LeBron already? We talked about LeBron.
Go ahead, add some LeBron in there, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, what a beautiful guy. What a tremendous human being. I mean, just a pillar of athletic success and a pillar of the community, just again describing and showing the kind of guy that he is. And I heard a little hint at that presidency, Donnie. I think I might have heard something. Maybe you did too. Maybe he's moving towards that, Donnie, down the road. But we could joke about that. But what a tremendous guy. I mean, just doing everything he can for the community. And he's the best ever. What can we say, Donnie? I mean, it's just great to watch. What a pillar of success.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, we talked, open up the schools and, doing all that good stuff out there. It's for a good reason. He's not saying, hey, I'm going to open up a nice new private school so my son can attend it and make sure it's the best facility out there. He's going into the inner cities where kids 5, 6, 7 years old, hanging out on court, literally have no hope in life to try to steer. And again, we always talk about, Jeff, if you could just save one of those guys, like, hey, you can't say, everybody's going to turn out right and go to the school and, go to college. But if you could just save a few of them, man, it really makes all the difference in the world.
Now, Donnie, let me ask you. Now, let's say LeBron James decides, hey, I'm going to run for president. All right, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna have the these different agendas and everything. Would you vote for him?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, even like, if he had a good platform and he had a good vice president behind him, sure, that would be able to steer him through. Because once you're stepping into that environment outside the basketball, and also, isn't president got to be like the worst job in the world at this point? Like, how would you even become president at this point? Exactly, he's a billionaire. He can do whatever he wants. And the worst thing that would happen, Jeff, with LeBron James running for president, somebody's going to get into his real deep personal life, like they always do. And something that he probably, we all have skeletons in our closet, right? Does he really want to get into that? It just live it, I'd rather him, Jeff, be building schools all over and getting the educational system right and saving, children out there than running for president. I think you could do way more of a benefit, Jeff, doing what he's doing now for the good of humanity.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with you. Roquan Smith, Dottie, the only rookie to be unsigned, which, again, I mean, this isn't good. I mean, I don't know I think this has to do with like the legality of the contract. I don't know if it has to do with money. And that's kind of where Sam Darnold was as well. I believe he's been signed though. Roquan Smith still on the block as far as being signed. They got to get him signed and delivered. What's going on here?
Yeah, this is I like to bang on the Chicago Bears for decades. If there's one team in the NFL that I would like to own, the Dallas Cowboys just run the most expensive franchise in the world. But I would have loved to have been born into the Chicago Bears ownership or front office there, Jeff. You're talking about a major, major city there with one football team, and they can do whatever they want and still print money. And over the years, the decades, the damn near century, it feels like, that the Chicago Bears have penny pinched their fan base. They got the new stadium, but they can't seem to get their field together. Always have like 8-inch grass out there. Nobody wants to take care of it. They run 16 to 20 state championship games on the field, then play an NFL field the next day, as opposed to just getting turf in there, figuring that whole situation out. But this is just another thing of the cheap penny pinching Chicago Bears front office, where they're fighting over their starting linebacker. It's going to be a starting linebacker, a top 10 draft pick, on language of a new suspension rule, Jeff, that nobody knows even how anything's going to take place. And they basically want to say, well, if you run afoul of these rules, we don't want to pay you. Get your goddamn, get your head squared, straightened up over there, Chicago Bears. Get the kids signed, get them in camp. Nobody knows what this rule is going to be. And stop penny pinching out there. What if this guy turns into a beast, and so what? He puts his head down and gets suspended for 3 games. You're arguing over paying the guy like $40,000? Jesus Christ, Bears.
Typical Bears bullshit. No surprise. Yeah, pretty pathetic, really. Let's get into the MLB recap here. MLB, just a continuing charade. I mean, it's no surprise. I mean, MLB is the biggest charade in sports betting. And I got to tell you, I mean, Donnie, I know you don't really, you have a game or two a night. You don't go crazy like some of these people, but I got to tell you, I mean, I don't know how some of you people bet like these games. I mean, it's such a charade. I mean, it really is just a weak ass sport. You're just throwing darts half the time. You got to worry about fucking guys that have no business pitching at this level. Just dreadful managing. I mean, look, case in point, the fucking Rockies. Okay, like, you have $100 million bullpen. All right, that's supposed to be your thing. That's why you went out and improved, because you had no bullpen. So you go out and you acquire guys that can throw, or supposedly can throw. You blow a 4-run lead to the fucking Cardinals, and then you lose. You add it. You make it worse by actually losing the game. You give up 5 runs and lose the game after your calling card yet again blows it. Pathetic.
No, it was bad. I was on that game and just watched the meltdown, and it was so like, as soon as the grand slam happened with Nolan Arenado and Martinez left the game, like, 4-run lead. And the worst part about it is, Jeff, you say, you know what? You're not just hanging on at that point. Like, you go to the bottom of the 5th inning, you're up 4-0. But even if you fast forward, it's 4-1 in the top of the 7th inning. They can't even, like, outside of the Jed Jorko solo home run, they can't even touch this pitcher, Jeff. Like they can't, like he retired like 15 of 16 or whatever. And the best part about it, Jeff, he goes in the seventh inning, Jeff, at 72 pitches. So you're not only saying, you're like, you know what? Their back end of the bullpen, quote unquote, is strong. This guy might pitch into the ninth inning and then you just bring in your closer and just shut it down. But it goes the opposite way. And here's where I get upset with managers. Look, you don't have to be a proactive manager for 99% of the game, right? If your pitcher walks three guys in the top of the second inning, you say, you know what? We're in the middle of the season. I just need him to get through it because I'm not burning my bullpen. We had a long bullpen game last night, and let's just see what he does out there. I get it. We have a young guy on the mound, Jeff. He's dealing, and he walks the first two batters of the inning. Now, when you walk the first guy, you're like, oh, okay, he'll get it back together. But don't alarm bells go off in your head in the seventh inning, where you're into the mid-70s in pitches. The next batter, which hadn't walked the batter all night, 4 balls completely out of the zone, and you leave him in there. So what does he do? Of course, he's walking the third batter because he's completely shook at this point. And still no less, it all boils down to, Jeff, you bring in the bullpen, it's bases loaded. Matt Carpenter's down 0-2 in the count with bases loaded. You need one more strike or one more out, and you're going to win the ball game. And of course, you get Matt Carpenter. Nobody seemingly can get out at any time. Gets a base hit, and it's 4-4. And once it hit 4-4, Jeff, is there any point even watching if you have a Rockies ticket at that point? You already know the final outcome.
Settle down, Donnie. We didn't need a life story of the game last night. Settle down, Ian Cameron. We didn't need a.
Well, I mean, you started the
life
story. You started it.
Well, because you put yet again, Donnie. I mean, how many times did you hear about this Cardinal game? Put this in twice. I'm only kidding, but fuck the Rockies.
Put it in twice. Where is it twice?
Settle down, Donnie. I'm kidding around. Nola Price was great. It was. If you like pitching duels, it was a great game. If you had Boston, you had to sweat. You had to wait a while, but waiting around worked out. I believe it was Blake Swihart, big double, win the game. Nola was great. Yet again, though, Philly's problem is offense. Weren't able to score enough runs.
No, it was look, and it should have been a shame. It should have been a complete game shutout for Aaron Nola, 1-0. He went into the best team in baseball by far and completely dominated that lineup start to finish. It was a Cy Young performance by Aaron Nola, but when you have a stupid baseball, now a talented, but one of the stupidest players in baseball is Odubel Herrera. Being a Phillies fan, I get to watch him night in and night out. The typical guy, Jeff, where two guys in front of you walk on 8 pitches. He's swinging from his heels, pitch number 1. Yes, he can hit a home run when the ball's 1 inch off the ground. And it's pretty funny and it's pretty, interesting to watch. But he's a guy that has no idea what he's doing on the base pass. You saw it last night. We ran into an out. He steals at times he shouldn't steal. He gets picked off and looks like he has no idea what he's doing out there. So you have to live with that if you're the Phillies. There's a lot of empty at-bats in their lineup. There's some good ones. Rhys Hoskins, even Cesar Hernandez will take pitches. Carlos Santana's not hitting, but at least he gives you competent at-bats. There's a lot of stupid players and stupid at-bats in that Phillies lineup, and it caught him last night.
Yeah, you can't do that kind of thing against the Red Sox and expect to win. James Paxton, he was back last night, pitched well. And listen, I mean, this was the concern with Paxton. You're either going to get a great game or you were going to get a bad game. You didn't really know where you were with it. But I'll tell you one thing, this Houston Astros team really struggling right now. They don't look good. I think they've lost 6 in a row. The at-bats have been brutal. They're hitting under 180, I believe, or close to it over the last week or so. They're just struggling. And without Altuve, it's not going to get any easier. This team really struggling, Donnie.
Yeah, no, and look, they'll correct it and they'll get back. I mean, they're too talented not to. Once they get healthy, they'll get everything in the room. They got the back bullpen. I think they'll be fine. I don't think you should push the panic button just yet there for us.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's just, you go through these, little stretches, and they're struggling to hit right now. Robbie Ray, awful at home. I mean, that's been Robbie Ray's calling card, Donnie, over the last few years. He's been pretty good on the road. I mean, last year he was terrific on the road, but again, last night struggled. I mean, 5 1/3 gives up 4 runs, 4 walks, wasn't effective. What's the issue with Ray at home? Why can't he get anyone out at home?
I don't know. It looks like he has good stuff. And I watched that game, and he's saying, hey, they stake him to a 3-1 lead. There's 2 outs. Shin-Soo Chu's up. He goes Oppo home run. And then they bail him out again, Jeff, in the bottom of the 5th inning to take the lead. I believe where they were down 4-3, took the lead 5-4. I believe it was at that time. And then you factor in a good bullpen with Arizona, who typically gets guys out in the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings. They couldn't get anybody out last night at a home game. But you're right, Robbie Ray at home, there's just something about him. If you can't beat the Rangers at home with their strikeout-ass lineup versus Martin Perez, you got some deep issues out there. It looks like, I like Arizona, Jeff. Talented team. I think they have some good starting pitching, but sometimes just so maddening out there where you say, you know what? The one bullpen that sucks, right, is the Rangers. And then you're going into town, and they're the ones that shut down Arizona on the road as opposed to vice versa, the other way around.
Oakland gets the job done, Donnie. Your boys, they win 10-1, 12 hits for Oakland. Lowry, Chris Davis, and Lucroy all with big nights. Edwin Jackson continues to pitch very well. If you could figure out Edwin Jackson's career, let us know, because I sure as hell can't. Toronto just continues to be bad. Donnie, though, the interesting thing about this line was, Oakland is a public team at this point. They just lost 3 in a row. You'd figured last night public was going to be backing them again, back at home. Yet the line kind of did a 180 and went backwards. I'll tell you what, these line moves have not worked out. That false flag that we looked for last year, over the last month or two, hasn't been very out there.
No, it hasn't been good at all this year. Like the past couple of years, you could basically say, where you could pick that lineup and say something is really wrong with this. But half the time now, Jeff, this year, I just think to be on the sharp side, so to speak. You just take the worst pitcher on the worst team in the worst scenario and call yourself a sharp and take it the other way. Like the line moving back, what would make the line go back? Especially a guy coming off, the DL and a bad start, and he's going on the road. And Edwin Jackson, he wasn't that good, obviously, last time out versus Texas. They ended up getting that win on that late Chris Davis home run in the 9th inning. But he comes back home. Eventually Oakland's going to get it going. They rolled over. But yeah, sometimes, Jeff, you just figure some of these books or offshore books just move on air. And what I mean by that is if somebody posts a line at 140 and it moves to 135, everybody just shifts in order, even though they're not even taking bets on that game. Actually, you just have to look at the numbers. Yes, underdogs are going to win in baseball because it's a 162 game grind and they're all professionals. But when you really dissect it there, if you're just chasing lines this year, you're getting yourself beat up a lot.
Yeah, it hasn't worked a ton. This has been a weird year in baseball. I don't know how else to really spin it. Let's keep it going here. Brew Crew, big home run from Eric Thames, who, if you know anything about power, Donnie, Eric Thames looks dead like James St. Patrick. If anybody watches Power, I get them confused quite often. He's just a dead ringer for Ghost in Power. Weird. But Thames with a big home run really was enough. The Dodgers offense was very poor last night. Really couldn't get much of anything going. And, I think the Dodgers should be quite happy that this was even a game. Early on, it was 1-0, no outs in the bottom of the first, or top of the first with bases loaded. Kenta Maeda shimmied out of it. Could have been a lot worse, but nice solid win for this Brew Crew team who continue to impress. I'm telling you, Donnie, this is a good baseball team. It would not surprise me if they take the reins and make the World Series. I think they're good enough. I think their pitching's been terrific. And I think someone in the chat mentioned, don't be surprised if this team finds a way to grab a starting pitcher, maybe makes a run at the World Series.
I love their lineup. You want to talk about you see the Dodgers lineup when they're full go, and it's pretty impressive. But the equal balance that you have in that Brewers lineup, Jeff, on every single night now, what you can do and what you can't do. The middle of the order, you just jump around Aguilar, Braun. You can throw Moustakas in there and Shaw. And then at the top of the lineup, you can scramble around. Can we go Yelich in the one hole today, Kane in the one hole today, Thames in the one hole today. It's amazing the versatility of that lineup, Jeff, top to bottom is sensational. And you're right. When you get to October, Jeff, when it's a condensed environment, when you only want your pitcher to go 5 innings, and then you bring in that bullpen to shut the door every night, they're going to be really tough out, man.
Again, I'm looking at a local book right now. You can get the Milwaukee Brewers at 15-1 to win the World Series. We have to keep in mind, the National League is not filled with horrendously tough teams. There's some good teams, Dodgers, obviously, Cubs, but this Brew Crew team is as good as anybody, in my opinion. I'd like to see them maybe grab a starting pitcher today by the end of the day. and really kind of broaden that. Donnie, let's get into the card today. Obviously, we've got a little football to talk about later, and we have just a disastrous event that went on this weekend that really has no business of happening in this business. We'll get to that in a little bit as well. Some commenters. We got all sorts of comments here. Guan White's supposed to be a Red Sox fan. Not sure when. I didn't know that, Donnie. Did you know that?
No, but who would he root for though in Tennessee? Like if you grew up in Tennessee, like
Good
who's your
point, I
baseball
guess.
team? Is it Atlanta?
Atlanta
Like I mean,
Braves,
nobody's
maybe.
really
Yeah.
like you're probably a free agent in Tennessee, right? Like you could be
Cincinnati
whoever you
Reds.
want. Yeah, like yeah. I mean, there's still. It's not like you could drive to the game. Like, hey, let's go to the game. We'll be there in 45 minutes. You know,
Yeah, true.
you gotta be a
True,
free
true,
agent
true.
down there. Yeah.
Well, let's just say at least he roots for a winning franchise for once. I mean, Tennessee's probably the most overrated sports program in the history of college. So, good. At least he's got one winning franchise that he can feel good about. But let's move on here. Yeah, Lance Lynn to the Yankees. I don't think it moves the needle much. This team continues to just grab guys that are second and third
Yeah, I don't
starter.
know. Yeah. I don't. Yeah,
They
I
don't
don't
have
get it. Like the move for that is what? Like you say, oh well, if we get into an environment in the playoffs and CC goes one inning, we can bring in Lance Lynn. Like, is that what you're covering for? I don't even get the move at all. I really don't.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. I mean, and you gave up Tyler Alston. I mean, I listen, giving up him for like international pool cash, Lance Lynn, I'd be interested in, but like you actually gave up a decent player for Lance Lynn and a pitching prospect. Yeah, I don't understand that. Maybe Lance Lynn needs a resurrection. I mean, we do remember Donnie. He was pretty good in with the Cardinals. He just never was really good with the Twins. Uh, maybe he
Yeah.
needs a new outlook. Maybe coming to New York will help him. I don't know. We'll hope he can. Hopefully, he can get back to being that really good pitcher that he once was. But I don't think it moves the needle a ton. It's just the same guy that they've had. Let's get into today's action, Donnie. What do we have on the card?
955, 956, Jeff. Good one here. Chicago Cubs travel to Pittsburgh. 65% of the early tickets coming in on Chicago. Jeff opened up at 123, 128. Reverse line movement down to a pick 'em now as Tyone is going to go opposed to Leicester today. We'll see what some of the lineups come out to be. I haven't checked the statuses yet, but I assume maybe Chris Bryant's getting close to being back in the lineup. I know he got that DL was on the cortisone shot, but it was retroactive. We'll see also on the opposite side who the Pittsburgh Pirates are getting back after their amazing outing on Sunday where they couldn't even get one run against the New York Mets. So it looks like offense, again, the problem when it wasn't a problem 2 weeks ago for the Pirates. But a good matchup here, Jeff, in the NL Central.
Yeah, Donnie, I'm a big John Lester guy. I like this guy.
Yeah.
I still think he's a great pitcher. And he had a bad outing recently. He's, maybe hit a little road bump, but he came right back and had another good outing last time out. The big concern for me, Donnie, is that big kind of elephant in the room. 65% of the money's on the Cubs, yet the line has dropped, what, 30 cents almost? I mean, it's very odd. I mean, but I look at this game and I say to myself, I'm getting a home team here with a good pitcher on the hill, pretty good lineup, playing pretty good baseball. I like the Cubs, or not I like the Pirates. So you look at the Cubs. This Cub team, for winning games, they've won 3 of their last 7, so they're about 500 over the last 7 games. They're not playing particularly well. I mean, they're not hitting. They're only hitting 232. They're not even scoring 3 runs a game over that last week or so. I like the Pirates here. I think everything works out. A lot of it makes sense. They're pretty good against lefties. For as much as I like Lester, I think the Pirates are to play in this one. I think Tyone, you look at him, I mean, he has been terrific lately. Last 18 to 30, he's only given up 4 runs, a couple walks, 21 strikeouts. He's been very good. I think this is a decent spot at home to back the Pittsburgh Pirates here.
Yeah, you know what? I'm almost a little bit on the opposite side of this, Jeff, because the engine for that offense, who is unbelievable coming out of the All-Star break, was Corey Dickerson. He's not going to probably be in the lineup again today. So you get the usual, Jordan Luplows and the David Freezes in that lineup. So at least Harrison looks like he's anticipating being back today. But until I see that Pirates lineup again get ramped up, I like Tyone. I do like their bullpen as well. But I'm just not going to trust them with that lineup because I can't see an offensive explosion off of John Lester tonight. And I can't, Pittsburgh getting 5 or 6 runs in this game. I don't see it. I see more of like that lower scoring total out of Pittsburgh with Jeff, where they have to hold on like a 3-2 type of victory in game. I just think the Cubs right now have more firepower on offense. It should be able to hold down that offense. as opposed to the other way around. I'll lean Cubs in this game at that short price, even though there is a lot of reverse movement. Looks easy to take John Lester, the stuff we like to read into it. But as we brought up in the previous segment, Jeff, that shit's been out the window this year, man.
Yeah, I just kind of look at the game from the spot of I am getting a pretty decent team that's playing well. Tyone's been good. Cubs aren't particularly hitting right now. I hear you though. I guess as far as this game's concerned, it won't be probably top of my the games I'm looking to bet if I bet anything. But I'm going to go the other way. We're kind of disagreeing here.
Next up, Jeff, Philadelphia Phillies and the Boston Red Sox right back in town. It's the same thing we talked about yesterday. Aaron Nola was a nice size underdog yesterday, closing at maybe 140, 145, depending on where you're shopping at. Both of us, I think we're on that lead saying, look, if you're going to take Aaron Nola, he's going to put in some work over the first 5, 6, 7 innings, but you're going to have to leave it up to the bullpen. And even on top of the bullpen, Jeff, it's not so much that was even a problem last night. Eventually, somebody's going to score a run, and the Phillies bullpen wasn't even the issue yesterday. I thought they pitched very well. But it's the Phillies bats. It's the Phillies dumb at bats that they have. It's the Phillies bats going ice cold all of a sudden at any given time, which they're doing right now, and especially not being good in an American League environment. Take the mound tonight, Jake Arrieta. It's almost the same type of line, Jeff. 152, 153, which gives you about a plus 140 on the opposite side with the Philadelphia Phillies and Jake Arrieta. Good starter on the mound. Pomerantz is a guy you can get after. But it's not so much the starting pitching from the Phillies. Do I think Arrieta can go up there and go 6 innings and give up 2 earned runs or 3 earned runs to keep you in the ball game? Yes. But even with Pomerantz on the mound, can the Phillies turn him around? Can the Phillies get out there and put up 5 or 6 runs in a ball game? That's maddening when you bet the Phillies.
Yeah, this is a tough game. I mean, I considered if I could get a 9, I'd look over the number, but we're not. We're getting 10. So that's kind of out for me. Phillies, I kind of like. I think they can hit Pomerantz, but I also know that they're not good against left-handed pitchers, and I don't know that I trust Arrieta. Jake Arrieta has been overly, for most of the season, not particularly strong. I mean, he's had stretches, but he's not been as good as I think people thought he'd be in Philadelphia. Yeah, the price is high. Drew Pomerantz shouldn't be laying this kind of number, but everything else checks out for Boston. Slightest of leans to the Red Sox just because I know their lineup isn't going to get bogged down forever. Mookie Betts isn't going to go 0 for 5 tonight. That 1 for 5 through 5, Donnie, in that lineup last night was horrendous.
Yep.
I'd expect them better tonight. I don't trust Arrieta. To be honest, I like the Red Sox bullpen a little bit more than I like the Phillies. I would lean with the Red Sox here, but it's getting a little high, especially with Drew Pomerantz pitching. So it's a pass for me.
All right, we'll keep it going down the list here, Jeff. We'll take a look at some other options on the board. Just trying to. Oh, there we go. 961, 962, Milwaukee and the Los Angeles Dodgers. You got Wade Miley on the mound, Jeff. All of a sudden, the reincarnate of Sandy Koufax out there, it seems, absolutely dominated the Los Angeles Dodgers last time out. I can't see it happening again. I mean, Wade Miley's just one of those tumbling curveball, smoke and mirrors type pitchers. Eventually, you're going to get caught up to. I think tonight might be the night, and you're seeing by the odds that open up 165, 170, sitting at Intertops 165, 5 dimes 168, Bet Online 165. So you're going to pay a decent premium there to get Walker Buehler on the mound. But it's one of those games, Jeffrey, say like, hey, maybe Miley can, work that little magic, go 5 innings, 2 earned runs. We'll leave it up to that Milwaukee bullpen. That lineup might get hot, might catch Walker Buehler a couple times and take him deep. That's a pretty nice price to pay if you're going to be looking for the Los Angeles Dodgers and a younger pitcher on the mound versus a team that can do everything well. They can hit, they can shut it down in the bullpen, and Miley's been pretty good last couple starts.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to catch Walker Buehler, it'd be now. He's been a little bit more erratic lately. Gave up 5 runs over his last start, giving up 4 home runs over his last 3 games. So I think if you're going to get Buehler, now would be the time. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I kind of like the Brewers here. LA can't hit left-handed pitching. I mean, that's been an issue for LA for a long time. They couldn't hit him last year, couldn't hit him the year before. Look at this year, 230 against lefties. And Miley's been good. Seems like, though, whenever you seem to trust Wade Miley, then he gets you, and you say, why the fuck did I back Wade Miley?
Yeah.
This might be one of those games, but with the way the Brewers play, with the lineup they have, with the Buehler stuff, kind of being a concern. I like Buehler. I think he's a great young pitcher, but he's had a little bit of a stretch lately where he's not pitching particularly well. At this price, I like the Brewers.
No, I can't disagree with you there because if you're just looking to take a dog, even if you're not even capping the game based on starting pitchers, then but I'm going to get the Brewers at this price because in a close game, Jeff, 3-2 in the seventh, they're going to be every bit in that ball game. And also, if you go to extra innings, what can the Brewers do well, Jeff? They can hit the solo home run. They don't need 3 hits like the Phillies in extra innings to score 1 run in a single inning. We'll get to the last game on the board, Jeff. Astros and Mariners, and you got some interesting line movement in this one. Morton versus Leak, 973, 974, 66% are backing the Houston Astros. Jeff, I had to do it like a double take. Altuve's not coming back. Correa is not going to be in the lineup tonight. That line opens up at 123 and 128 at Chris and Pinnacle, Jeff. Now sitting at 153 at Intertops here. So really good line move for a road team. Houston laying $1.50 on the road with that pencil popping, pushing, gun popping lineup out there that can't get out of its own way. Are we chasing lines here, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are at this point. I mean, a lot of people I think are going to look at Houston and say, I'm not backing them. They're not playing well. They have 10 runs over the last 5 games. No Altuve, no Correa, no anyone. And you would be right. They don't have a lot right now in that lineup. Those two kind of anchor that lineup, especially Altuve. We know how good he is. But let's be honest, Donnie, their pitching hasn't been particularly good either. I mean, over the last 7 games, they're giving up over 6 runs a game. The at-bats have been tough against them. You know, they haven't played really well at all. Neither of these teams are. I mean, Seattle's not really playing that well either. I mean, they've kind of hit a wall for a while, but back to it. They've won 3 of 5. I think. I don't know. Mike Leake is an interesting guy. I don't really like either of these pitchers. I got a weird feeling tonight that we see some runs in this game. Finally, I don't trust Leake. Morton, I know a lot of people trust. I still don't. I still think he's very hittable, and I think he can be got. I think we see kind of a 5-4 type of game here, 6-3, something like that. I think this game goes over the number. At this number, I'll take a shot. I think a lot of people are going to be down Houston's offense. Eventually, they're going to score 4 or 5 runs. Wouldn't surprise me if it's tonight. I would look maybe over the number here.
Yeah, no, it should be an interesting one. I'm just impressed by that line movement there where Houston's playing absolutely atrocious baseball. Seattle's been known to win those lower scoring games like they did yet again. People tell them that they're lucky and you can't sustain it, but they sustained it for damn near 3 months and probably will for the rest of the season. So we'll see what comes back to bite. But Houston right now, Jeff, punchless with that offense out there. Now, Mike Leake is that guy that you can catch. He's not going to overpower you. He's going to try to trick you, throw that junk stuff up there. So maybe they're factoring in that Houston can finally get right, not getting a power pitcher on the mound, and seemingly if they can work their way through because they do have a good bullpen with Houston. You just need to get some base hits. So we'll leave it there. But a full card here out that we take a look at. One of my favorite days,
Donnie?
Jeff. I like trading deadlines in every league. NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, football. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, what's up?
Breaking news coming in now from Buster Only. This is a quote from Mike Rizzo. What a delusional guy this guy is. Nats GM. Bryce is not going anywhere. I believe in this team.
Yeah, well, I mean, that basically says like I went
Last
out and
night,
asked for Mike Trout, and they told me they would give me a bag of donuts for him. That's all that means.
Yeah, that basically means, hey, I went out and tried to get offers, but everyone basically said, fuck off. We're not giving anyone up for Bryce Harper. And no one wants that pathetic amount that he wants and thinks he's worth.
That's what we're talking. Before you got on the line, I was talking about, Jeff. Just to get back to that Bryce Harper topic, is what team is stupid enough to like? If you said, "Hey, the Yankees, Bryce Harper's on the trading deadline," you know what I'd be? Yeah, if I'm Cashman, I'd be like, "I got a pretty good pitcher in Single A that I'll trade you straight up for Bryce Harper." How's that sound for you? Who would give anything up for Bryce Harper worth of value right now, knowing that he's going to hit the free agent market? Like, what would you give up? Like, hey, I'm making some phone calls out there. Phillies, I know you're interested in Harper in the offseason. How about you give us Hoskins for straight up for Hart? Like, who would do anything like that?
And that's the thing. He is so overvalued. It's pathetic. This guy is one of the most overrated players in the history of the league. I mean, he's not worth that much
No,
money.
he's not.
Sorry.
No, he's not. Well, first of all,
I
he's
think
not
he's
overrated. He's
overrated.
just having a down year. I mean,
personally,
he's had an amazing career, Jeff. Outrageously good career. He's having a down year. Now, what he's going to
I
get
don't
on the
know, maybe
open market, that's just what the open market's going to provide. But you can't just go by just this first half a year. He's a pretty talented individual.
but let's make this clear, and this is important. He's been horrible in the playoffs. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. He's hitting like 210 in the playoffs in a lot of at bats. He doesn't perform. He's on a bad team that never wins anything. But then again, we can make this case of I don't know that making the playoffs and doing well in the playoffs is a belief that you're not a good baseball player, it hurts your legacy because you don't win anything. You just go through. But you look at Mike Trout. What has he ever won? Honestly, he's a great player, but he's on a bad team. That's kind of the shame. In a way, I think both parties kind of have to. It kind of sucks for both parties. It's not the right
Yeah, I
fit for
mean,
him
you
there.
changed the manager, wasn't the manager. There's a lot of, I don't even want to say bad apples on the team, but sometimes you have teams just don't have it. Like they just can't reach
But in,
down and say, because they've had a nice run as a team, but always end up choking. But also, you're looking at a team, Jeff, that's straight up individuals as opposed to a team. Like, how would you feel like, let's just say LeBron James is a free agent this offseason. He's with Cleveland. Cleveland gets to the finals and they're going up against Golden State. And he goes, you know what? I'm in a contract year. I'm going to sit out the NBA Finals because, one, I'm not too sure if we can win this, but I'm looking for my next paycheck. In what sport do you shut down your ace in the playoffs because you're worried about your next contract? Doesn't that show the Washington Nationals in just a microcosm right there that says that's what the Nationals' entire organizational philosophy is? Me, me, me.
Plus, in this with this team, like it's always the manager's fault with this group. I mean, it's never the players. It's always it was Davey Johnson, or it was Matt Williams, or it was Clint Hurt, or what is his Dusty Baker.
Dusty.
It's never it's never the management's fault to the players. It's always the manager. What about the GM? What about you putting the players together? There's always blame in Washington. It's same old story. Let's get to NFL, Donnie. Let's look over our next team in our little training camp thoroughfare. We'll go down to Chicago. Take a look at the Chicago Bears, a team that finished very poor 3-13 last year. Didn't is that right? 3-13? I feel like they were
They
better
did
than that.
go.
I thought they were at like 5.
No, 5-11. Yeah, 5-11. Yeah,
I was looking at the wrong one. 5-11. I'm sorry. I thought they had a couple more wins. I must have clicked on the wrong game. But 5-11 last year really had some. I thought some decent defensive stretches, and I think kind of focusing on this team right at the beginning. I think the defense is their stretch, their strength here. I think it's a pretty good defense, especially if you can obviously figure out Roquan Smith, which they will. I think up front they've got a pretty decent defensive line. A lot of big boys up there. Maybe the weakness is the pass rush. Do you have a legitimate pass rush threat? But I think the linebackers are strong. You go out and you have a pretty solid secondary. I think this defense, which by the way, last year, Don, I believe was 11th in the league overall, had a pretty good season. I was quite impressed with how good and what they were able to do with really outside of Danny Trevathan and one or two others, mostly unknowns. I mean, it's a pretty solid defense. Offense is obviously going to be the question. Can Mark Helfrich come in and be a good offensive coordinator in this league? Will he bash heads with Matt Nagy, who's also an offensive guy? Mitch Trubisky, is he ready to take the next step forward? I think he is. We saw last year he had some stretches where he looked very good. You all of a sudden have a couple playmakers. But the big question is, can you stay healthy with Kevin White? Kevin White, I'm looking at you here. You're always injured. Can you stay on the field and be some kind of addition to this team? I think Anthony Miller could be a guy that we could really look out and say he could be a solid rookie of the year possibility. I think this is a good player, maybe in the slot, that could really make this team different offensively. Trey Burton as well is a nice add. Get a couple good running backs. Where are you at with the Chicago Bears, Donnie?
You know what, Jeff? We always like to say, like, can you arrive a year ahead of time? I think they're going to be moving up to now. What are we looking at in terms of wins here? They got 5 last year. So if we take a look to like 6 or 7, doesn't sound like a good year, but that could be a good year for the Chicago Bears, even, Jeff, going 6-10, depending on what their situation is, or even 5-11. Because when you look at it, it's not so much about the Bears themselves. I like the additions they made. They finally have some playmakers around. They have that young quarterback in his second year that you look to take the next step. Love what they did, Jeff, with the coaching staff. I like Nagy. I like Helfrich coming in from college to give a little bit more of that up-tempo, maybe read option, zone read type of plays. I like Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator. I think there's a lot of talent on the Chicago Bears. But when you really dissect it and look at it, you say look at their schedule, what a tough-ass division, Jeff, especially to have a young quarterback making his way up. You're going to go against the Green Bay Packers, which are tough to beat anyway and just seem to own the Chicago Bears. The Minnesota Vikings, as good an NFC team as you're going to find out there. And then you have them, like we used to say for the Marlins, the pesky-ass Detroit Lions, which you know are going to steal a game or two in that division. It all boils down to what you feel for the Chicago Bears and what you're ready to accept as a successful season. If they go, Jeff, as I said before, that 6-10, move it up maybe in the 7-win range. I think that's going to be a successful season, but it's what the quarterback's going to do moving forward. How comfortable does he look? Because that's a really hard division, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. You look at the first 7 games of the season for them. I mean, you'd have to think Packers is a loss, but I think you have the ability to maybe find a way to go 4-3. I mean, you lose to the Packers. I think the Seahawks are winnable. I think you could beat
Yeah.
Arizona. I think you could beat
Mhm.
Tampa. I think you
Yep.
beat the Dolphins. You'll lose to the Patriots, and I think you beat the Jets. If you can find a way to go 5-2, 4-3, it's going to be tough, but I think it's very possible for the Bears. And I think at a young team, it's a tough schedule, but I think early on, it is decent. I mean, think if you could find a way, Donnie, to lose 2 games out of those 7. It's going to be tough. I mean, it's probably not going to happen, but let's say if you even can go 4-3, you're on a nice way to the win total there. You get 2 games against the Lions, obviously. You get the 49ers, which maybe you could do late in the season. But you're right, it is a tough schedule. And it is something that, a young team's gonna have to navigate. But I think there's some pieces there that you can be excited about. If they can go through the season with limited injuries, which is probably not gonna
Yeah.
happen, I think they have a pretty solid group. I mean, I thought Trubisky looked solid in the appearances that I've had. Listen, it's his team now, Donnie. Mike Glennon's not there breathing down his neck. There's no other guy here. You're not bringing in Chase Daniel. It's his team. It's his. He's got a full year here now. I think he takes a bit of a step forward. I think he's got some decent guys leading him there. Helfrich is a concern. I wonder about the legitimacy of Helfrich. I don't know if there ever really was any.
Yeah, but
I
he's
think a
not
lot
good.
of it
He's the offensive coordinator by name out there. I mean, we all know
okay,
Nagy's going to be able to call the plays out there and set
sure,
it up. I just like the move for Helfrich to say, you know what, Matt Nagy, here's my offense. Let me bring a guy a little bit outside the box that can add a wrinkle or two. That's what I like to see out of the offensive coordinator. I don't need the offensive coordinator running the team and running the show. It's going to be Nagy's
right.
offense, but I like the outside influence where maybe say, you know what? If we do run this pattern this way, maybe switch it up a little bit, we can have good results there. That's why I like Helfrich. Not because he's going to be out there like, hey, let's run Oregon's playbook.
You like it just because he'll shut up and do what people tell him.
Exactly.
That's kind of my
Hey, coach, look, we're going to run this play. Any suggestions? Like, hey, if we set this guy in mode, you know what? I didn't think of that. That's what I like Mark Helfrich for, not because he's
kind of
going to
like
be actually running offense.
kind of like Frank Reich or those kind of guys.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but
hear you.
people will tell you though Frank Reich was the catalyst behind the Eagles, so we'll see.
Right, right. But yeah, I think overall, I think this team early on could have some winnable games. It could be a real good spread team early on, especially against some of these big boys. Early on they have a 4-3, 5-2 winnable schedule. So early on, that's might be where you get the win total. I think their win total is 7.5, if I'm correct, or 6.5.
6.5,
Um,
Jeff. Yeah, I had 6.5. I pulled it off 5 times.
I think it's going to be tough. I think they can get to 7. I do, but it's going to be tough. They have some tough games. They do have a couple winnable ones. Yeah, they get the Jets in the middle of the season. They get the Bills. I think they can get to 7 wins, but they're going to have a good 5-2, 4-3 early on. If you could do that, I think you'll have some games where you could beat the Lions 1 out of 2. You can beat the Bills and the Jets. I think they can get to 7 wins. I'm going to say that. I think they're a 7-win team. I think they're 7-9. I think that's a nice, obviously, a 2-win, better than last year cushion. You see where you're at then and keep it going. They know they're not going to win this division. I think it's just about getting better, improving, getting Trubisky as your quarterback going forward. I think there's I think they're 7-9. I would go with
No,
that here.
I think
Uh,
we agree on that same point, Jeff. Because if they end up 6-10, but you see them moving in the right direction, I think it's a very good year for the Chicago Bears. Because are you a Bears fan? You're going to get upset because they didn't win the division over Minnesota and Green Bay this year? No, you want to see that quarterback because the quarterback is everything in football, Jeff. If he progresses and they look like a competent football team, I think that's what you pull out of the season for the Bears.
Agreed. Let's move on to off topic. We got a few minutes here to wrap up the show. We don't always get to these off topics,
Jeff,
but we
real
have
quick
some.
before the off
Yeah.
topics here, it looks like the Cardinals got Tommy Pham. The Brewers are going after Gio Gonzalez as we speak. And
Nice.
some moves coming fast and furious. So it should be fun the rest of the day. But yeah, let's hit some off topics here. Let's get after it. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, a lot going on in the gambling world. Mississippi is open sports betting. They have a couple casinos getting started, so they're the newest sportsbook state. So if you're in the South, now you have an opportunity to bet on sports. So now, Donnie, I want to ask. I didn't actually look this up or read. Can you bet on college sports in Mississippi? In Mississippi?
I did not see that, Jeff, of the details there, but I'm going to assume as it starts out, you probably can't bet on the Mississippi teams in Mississippi in college the same
Because
way you can't with New Jersey.
I want to say that's state to state, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. That would be something I'd be interested in because I mean, obviously, I'll tell you what, Donnie. Kind of on a quick little tangent here. You know what team
Yeah.
I'm very high on this year in college football, and I'm going to actually feature them at when I speak at IPC. I love this Bulldog team, this Mississippi State Bulldog team. I'm very
Hmm.
high on them. I would not be surprised if they make a run at the SEC. I think this is a good football team. I'm excited about this year. Nick Fitzgerald, real
I
excited
love
about
that
him.
kid. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that kid a lot. New coach,
And
so we'll see.
I actually watched last night when they played Alabama last year, and the kid is really good. And I think Joe Moorhead's going to do a lot of good things for that kid down there. So we'll see, but we'll get to that another day. AC Atlantic City adds a couple more sports books. The Bally's Group, Caesars, the Wild West Casino, all of them have now
Yep, good.
jumped in and offer sports betting. I know I'm not a big fan of Bally's or Caesars. Bit old to me, kind of dated. I hate that Wild West area, but it's nice to see another
But the
casino for other
Wild, when I
people.
was in college, Jeff, in the younger day, the way we'd always go to the Wild West because it had $5 blackjack and $5 craps back when we were in college. I mean, we weren't rolling in any dough in college, so that was the place we always hit. So yes, it is a little bit downtrodden.
Sure. Yeah, but again, here's what I'm saying though. It's a book off the boardwalk that you can walk in, make your bets, and get out of there. I also, Donnie, quickly got some boxing coming up in Atlantic City this weekend. Sergey Kovalev,
Yeah.
it's a cool fight over to Hard Rock. You have a couple down the road as well, so that's exciting. More stuff coming to the city. I believe there are two other sports books, Donnie, that are casinos that are being unnamed right now that will be adding sports betting as well by football season. So Atlantic City is soon to have all of their casinos offering it, which I'm excited about. One more thing, Donnie, before we go today. Just a disaster situation. I don't know how this
No, it's not,
happens.
and I don't know why you say this though, because I'm going to combat this. Go ahead.
They don't have enough money to pay out their tickets. What the hell? What
That
are you
has
talking about?
that was nothing. That was completely incorrect, and somebody just put that out there on Twitter. That's been debunked already.
I didn't see that being debunked. I saw it being tweeted last
Yeah.
night.
Well, no, we're about to get into it is how late can you cash that ticket? Like the sports book ends at a certain time due to regulations. Let's just say it's 1 a.m. and the fight was
Which is
over in
stupid.
New Jersey.
Don't
The
have
Philadelphia, yeah, but it's the same thing in Vegas, Jeff. You can't go to the Aria and cash a ticket at 2
South
a.m.
Point's
Like
open
that's
all
the whole
all
thing.
night.
Like no, like it's the same. Like if you get paid on a Friday, you have a live check in your hand. You can't
Well
roll in
then,
the TD Bank at 3 a.m. and cash the
well,
check. It's the same
then you should.
rules.
Here's where you're wrong. There are no. I don't know about Meadowlands, but Atlantic City at Borgata, they don't give you a time they close. They just close when they feel like it, and
Can't
that's the
cash.
issue I
You
have.
can't if they're not
No,
open. You can't cash the ticket though.
but of course you can. That's not what I'm saying. But at Borgata, for instance, there's no proper time that they have when they close. They just close when they feel like it. The other night when I was down there last time, I went over there and they were closed. It was like midnight, and I'm thinking, well, I didn't even know they close. When do they close? There's no. I don't know, but I don't know if they have a closed time at Meadowlands. But according to what I read, they weren't paying out the ticket. That's what was going around.
No, I could see the point on there if you want to like there should be able to go to any cage in the casino because there's always a cage open because gambling's 24 hours in New Jersey where if you go to the craps table and gamble you win a couple $100 you go over to the cage and cash in your chips they never close and maybe they should adjust that to have like a 24-hour window where you can always get your cash. Maybe you can't place a wager, but it could be like a cash only option. I can see your point in that, but I did get a laugh out of it first where they said there wasn't enough money to pay people out, which was quickly debunked by the casino. I believe it was William Hill itself and said we're closed at a certain time, so you can't just walk up and cash your ticket. You can come back in the morning, but they use the same philosophy as the bank. If you have a live bank check, hey, I got paid at 5 o'clock on Friday, hit the club and it's 1 a.m. You can't roll into the bank
Here's
and cash your paycheck. Point.
Well, actually, but here's what they do, Donnie. Though they allow you to go to the ATM, do it there, put the check in, and they do it the next day. That's what they need to do. There should be a certain
No, yeah,
amount
they'll
where
figure that out.
if
I
you
hear you. That's what I agree. I agree. Like there should be
if
one
you have a
option in there
ticket
that you can bring. Yeah, go ahead.
if you have a ticket under $1,000, there should be a machine where you go, it's validated, and you're paid out. That's or
It's the
it's
same way
sent
with
to
the
your
slot machine tickets. Yeah, they have them all over the casino. You go in $300 in
yeah,
a slot machine, which isn't enough for the attendant to come out to 1,200. You put it in the
right.
bill breaker machine, and it gives you your money back. Yeah, I wholeheartedly
That's what
agree.
you do for
Too.
sports betting because
Yeah.
these people that go there for a night and bet Phillies for $50, they win. I mean, they should be able to go cash that out. That's the problem because a lot of people are not going to the Meadowlands and staying there. They're going down for a night, and it's gonna if you're not properly vocal on when things close, that would piss me off because I'm not gonna drive down there from Long Island to cash $100 ticket. It would just make sense if there was some kind of machine. It would help your customer service. It would help bring more people to your place, and it would help people that will come down for the day. And maybe they don't know when the place closes. Be a little bit more vocal on. We close at midnight, regardless of what you think. We close at midnight. So again, don't put yourself in this position where you have to come back down here or something. But that'll be that. We'll wrap it up, Donnie. I ask you, Donnie, pray for me today. I start my trainer, my first day at my personal trainer. Pray
Yeah.
for me today. Gonna be tough. It's only an hour. It's not Navy SEAL training. I'll be fine. Everyone have a great day. We're back tomorrow with the roundtable. Check us out for that. Me, Donnie, Ian, and Drew. Check us out. A lot of football to talk about. See you tomorrow here on SBRPick.com.